and welcome to the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show where we meet up and coming indie authors and talk to them about their recently released books. Welcome to the Author Roundup. I'm Jenny, and today we have a story that reminds us that even in our darkest moments, transformation is possible. Justin Perry is a resilient young man who found light in even the darkest of moments. After the tragic loss of his infant nephews, he turned to alcohol and ultimately hit rock bottom. But through determination and self discovery, he reclaimed his life and is now committed to inspiring and encouraging as many people as possible. As a restaurant professional with a passion for food, fitness, and helping others, Justin, known to his readers as I Am Enough, uses his journey to inspire people through writing, speaking, and one on one coaching. His book, Hiding in Plain Sight, Unshackling My Past, Breaking Free from Obesity, Addiction, and Toxic Love, is a powerful account of breaking free and reclaiming life. Let's all welcome Justin Perry. Hi, Justin. It's great to have you.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor.
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. So let's start off by you telling us about your book.
So it is just an incredible healing journey. It's just a way to tell people in a candid, shameful, even way that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Everything from as the and the subtitle says, from being obese to getting caught in a bad relationship or addiction, that there is always a way out, and it doesn't matter how bad it gets. There are answers, and what most people don't realize is that the answers they need are all inside of them all along, but they're always looking
Mhm.
outside for those answers.
Okay, so your book is very personal and very raw. What inspired the idea for your book, and what encouraged you to finally share your story? Because this is about your life.
Absolutely. I read a book one time and it said you can write about anything you damn well want, just be honest. And when I read that, something clicked. And of course, it's a memoir, so there is a distinct level of honesty. But I wanted to go above and beyond to tell the world about things I've never told anybody before. So I feel like that level of honesty opens the door for other people to be honest with themselves, with their loved ones, with their lives, and what they're doing that may be or may not be right. Um, I Overcoming obesity and losing 260 pounds. I feel like that was when the door opened, and I realized I wanted to help other people. For that 7 years, I think, was the highlight of my life into my early to mid 20s.
Mhm.
My infant nephews, ages 2 years old and 6 months old, were murdered in a double murder suicide. Um, when that happened, everything changed. I went from working at a five-star restaurant,
Mhm.
thriving in life, doing well, what I thought was in a happy relationship. My health was at the peak of something I had always dreamed of. And from that point forward, for roughly 8 years, is when in the downward spiral continued. Through drunk driving arrests, to regaining 140 pounds, to just to getting beaten up by life, and also beating up myself, and that just kind of culminated in. Everyone says there's a rock bottom, but I
Mhm.
feel like if it gets bad enough and you never get off the bottom, it's hard to realize where in the bottom really is.
It's amazing how you chronicled everything and shared everything that's that's happened to your life. So let's talk about obesity first, because you described in your book that you grew up in a food-centric family. So tell us more about that, and then how did those experiences shape your relationship with food and also your self-worth?
Absolutely. I think lack of self worth is the core of every an addiction and every issue that we have in life. Growing up as a child in the say early to mid '90s, we didn't have in a cell phones and the technology that we have these days, which
Mhm.
becomes a whole new an addiction in and of itself. So it wasn't as much of both of my parents were really heavy, but my mom had gotten fit, before
Mhm.
I knew her, if you will. My dad was heavy, he was a drunk. So being and put down at a very young age and made me feel that lack of self-worth, made me turn to an escape. And
Mhm.
mom was kind of timid too and beaten down, I think, by the emotional abuse from my father. So that made it difficult to turn to anybody. So I turned to food, and it wasn't the idea that everyone was just hanging out all day long and eating it as much as they could, but it wasn't frowned upon, if you will. A lot of people grow up in a more health driven and a healthy environment.
Mhm.
I didn't have that. So the food was the only way out. So food, and I feel like sports was the other one where it was some avenue where I could go and live in another world by watching a sporting event. But the food is where it all began, and that's where I found an outlet. Everyone's looking
Mhm.
for an outlet. Some have one. Some might not even think that they do, but it's there. So that kind of drove the bus all the way up to I was 18 to 19 years old, and that's when
Mhm.
I had weight loss surgery. That's when my life changed. It is incredibly difficult. I think weight loss surgery is harder than trying to lose the weight on your own. Just the life altering pain and experience. But of course, everything that happens shapes you into who you are now. So of course, I wouldn't want to change anything. Um, and then the relationship with food just turned into other things. So unless you find the
Mhm.
reason why you're looking for an outlet outside of yourself, you're just going to keep trading in one for another. It goes from food to alcohol and to cigarettes to love to, I mean, really anything. So that's where it began. And, I never really explored the reasoning behind it. I would just always had the excuse of mom was big and dad was big. No one's really healthy. So it just kind of gives you a card and to pull out as to why you're heavy or why you're overweight or why you do what you do, because it's just in a learned behavior.
Okay, so you mentioned the addiction to food and it being replaced by other forms of addiction like alcohol and toxic relationships and all that. So in every kind of addiction that one has, there is always that deep denial, right? So in your uh in your experience, what was the hardest part that hardest part about admitting that you have a problem?
Yeah, that is the hardest part for everybody. We all
Mhm.
have a problem, and with something, to admit it is that we are admitting that we are flawed. And if all depending how you grew up and in what environment, when you live with, say, a dictator or somebody that expects a lot out of you, when you're not perfect, you're nothing. It feels like you have to shoot for being absolutely perfect or getting all A's in school. And when you don't reach that point, you feel that lack of self worth. So, um, you deny everything that would in, imply that you're not perfect, and that makes it incredibly challenging to
Mhm.
acknowledge your faults or acknowledge what you may be doing wrong if you're not open, to the idea that you are, that you're not perfect, obviously, and nobody is. So just having to deal with that in and of yourself is a challenge. Once that
Mhm.
changes and you become vulnerable to your environment, to other people around you, everything changes.
I see. So you also mentioned that, it becomes a cycle of addiction, as they say. Um, there's food, there's alcohol, relationships, and all that, and it seems endless. So tell us about what you did to break that cycle. How did you learn to break that cycle?
Breaking it is becoming mindfully aware of your situation, of your surroundings. Hindsight is always 2020. You look back on something, but the red flags in my relationship were waving and from day one, and everyone else saw it except me. So that was hard to swallow. But in a decade later, and I was still beating myself up in the same relationship, and everything had all come back. The drinking had worsened. I was healthy before, and now I wasn't. Breaking the cycle is about healing.
Mhm.
It is an unorthodox way of looking at it. It sounds very simple, but when you start healing from the inside, you start eliminating the reasons of why you're reaching for something outside of yourself. Everyone is constantly doing it. Some is just more, outlawed by other people, and they are frowned upon, or some are more severe. Some might have one drink after work, and some drink an entire bottle. It's just breaking the cycle is just trying to find the value in yourself, and that you don't need anything else outside of that. You need to be able to sit with your emotions, sit with yourself, be at peace with that, love who you are. And it's not about just being able to accept who you are, it's about being able to progress beyond that and continuing to be a better person. If you are a little heavy or overweight, it is about trying to accept who you are and
Mhm.
being a very, I guess you could say, comfortable and loving yourself. But at the same time, you need to be encouraging yourself and moving to being a better version of that. Because and if you want to live a long life, you have to be healthy. So I feel like
Mhm.
it's not just about healing from the inside out, not from the outside in. And to stop looking elsewhere for answers when you have them all along. But it's also about progressing towards being better, a better version of yourself. Um, I think that's the only way to do it. I feel like every other way is just an excuse and a way to prolong having to answer the hard questions and that you have to ask yourself.
Mhm. So like you said, it has to start from within in order to break that cycle. In your book, you also emphasize the importance of finding purpose. So, how did discovering your purpose help in your healing journey?
Um, Part of the healing journey, actually, the biggest aspect of the healing journey was writing the book, writing it, getting everything out, every single thing that I've done during my addictions, during my recovery, out onto paper and out of myself. It was healing in and of itself. Finding the purpose gives you a reason and to wake up in the morning. And most
Mhm.
people don't have that. They don't have a reason to get out of bed. So they just wake up and they go through the motions. They, have a job they don't like. They don't like who they are. So they have no reason to get up and to be a better version of themselves every day. So the purpose is, why do you wake up and what makes you tick? And for me, it was helping other people. So it all came full circle with when, as I was writing the book and the healing began, inside of myself and my soul, and it just felt a relief. It felt like I was free, and that in and of itself was my purpose. It was to then talk to other people about the book and about the journey and what had happened in that time. And my purpose is to light up the lives of other people, to let them know that they can do anything that they want, that they can find a reason and to wake up in the morning. And as long as you're still breathing, there is still a purpose for you. You know, you are still here and you're here for a reason. So
Mhm.
it takes a lot of self a discovery and to find your purpose. I feel like a lot of people aren't in jobs that they are, and destined and to be doing. But one way or another, there is a way to find that version of yourself that is then giving the best version of you to other people.
Mhm. That's beautiful. So, finding a purpose can actually be very, very helpful for someone's recovery, right? So, recovery, as we know, is not really a straight path. There are setbacks, and everyone will go through that as you're going through recovery. How did you push through them? How did you overcome these setbacks?
Overcoming them is all part of the journey. They say, I think there's an adage in AA and 12 steps that relapse is part of a recovery. I think the a recovery doesn't start with the people around you; it starts within you, and that's where the problem lies. I see a recovery as a journey through yourself and through just going back to loving yourself, who you are, and finding and being the best version of yourself. Um, the outlines of 12-step meetings and AA, which I am all for. If it helps somebody get sober, by all means, do whatever it takes. I am not a big advocate for them. I think it is a vice in a sense, as in I
Mhm,
have to go to a meeting every day. Well, when somebody
mhm,
misses the meeting, that's an immediate excuse. Well, I missed a meeting, so it's okay if I relapse. And then I'll just go back tomorrow and they'll welcome me and with open arms. Um, the setbacks are what encourages you to build the a resilience to be able to
mhm,
overcome the an addiction. For me, the setbacks was the a relationship that I just couldn't get out of. I feel like if you have any spiritual, being, or you look up to a god of any kind, that there's a god or some spiritual being, because I shouldn't be alive at this point with how many times I have dodged death and was able to overcome the the difficulties. So I think waking up in a prison cell with nothing else but my thoughts, and those thoughts were not good. That was the last day that I drank. That was
mhm,
almost 4 years ago. So, being able to find the resilience within yourself, immediately finding a purpose, and being able to be vulnerable and tell people about your journey without shame, because it happened. You can't change
mhm,
anything that happened 1 minute ago. So because of that, you've got to be vulnerable. You have to reach out to people and tell people, and that builds up that the gall, and the wherewithal to be able to and to move forward despite what you've gone through.
mhm. Okay, so you're at the point in your life when you can look back at everything that has happened to you. If you can talk to your younger self, what would you say to your younger self when you were first struggling with addiction?
Wow. When I was younger, I had turned to food, and when you grow up in an environment with an addiction, you either fall into it because it's there, or you completely fall away from it because it's there, and you see what it's doing to other people. Well, with alcohol, that's exactly what happened to me. I didn't drink almost all through college because I saw what it did to in my family. Well, I would tell myself that don't need the alcohol, I don't need the food. If you can just sit yourself down and you are loved, you are enough, you are worthy of every single thing that you want in life, and it doesn't matter what anybody else and tells you. I would have to tell my younger self that many, many, many times because I wouldn't realize that until I was well into my 30s.
Mhm. I see. So, does your book have some things that would break the misconception about addiction and recovery? Because there are a lot of misconceptions about addiction and recovery. Are there instances in your book that you would or that can break through these misconceptions?
Absolutely. I think, and the biggest ones culminate from the mainstream. You don't need to go to meetings. You don't need to go to AA. You don't need to do a 12-step program. A lot of what a 12-step program is, it's like admit what you did wrong, do the right things. If you do something wrong, and say you're sorry and live right. You can do that every single day. It's maybe you have to take a little inventory in the morning and at the end of the day. What am I doing right? What can I do better? Have I wronged someone? Do I have to say I'm sorry? Do I have to reach out? Do I have to talk to somebody? That is a big part of it, but it doesn't have to come in a meeting. I think sometimes it can be traumatizing to an addict to go to a meeting and to hear people they call them in the war stories. Everyone talks about all the crazy things and that they did while they were in active in addiction. That can be traumatizing.
Mhm.
That can push people back into the addiction. um, the other one is changing people, places, and things. Well, what if the same people that are still around you are the reason that you're still alive? What if they were the ones that were supporting you, but they were supporting whatever version of you gave to them, which is exactly what I did for years. People were there supporting me, whether I was doing well, trying to get sober, I had fallen back into, in the unhealthy ways. Those people could be the very same people that can help you get back up and that can help you get back out of the dark place. Everyone talks about what they can change around them, whether it's their
Mhm.
environment, whether it's their job. I mean, I was an alcoholic. I work in hospitality. I work in a restaurant with liquor all the time, and I am not enticed one single day of the week. And it's because I stopped looking for the answers on the outside and
Mhm.
for other people telling me what I had to do and what I couldn't do. Because those exact same things are the ones that saved me. Those are the same friends that are there now, that same job that has helped me and to resurrect my life after it being so dark and for so long. So everyone's looking for outside answers where we have the answers. As long as you look in the right place, you heal from the inside, you love yourself. That's where the healing begins. Because once you heal, you don't have that desire to reach for anything else outside of yourself.
Mhm. Okay, powerful words coming from you. So let's talk about your journey as an author this time and your book. Tell us how long it took you to complete your book. If you can also share some anecdotes that you have with your writing experience, that would be great.
The writing experience was a labor of love. It was a on the list of things to do for years, and I guess not enough bad things had happened at that point in time in order for it to get done. I had to do in a few more things, maybe get
Mhm.
arrested one more time, and everything had to happen the way it was supposed to. Um, when all I had in my life was a pen and a notebook and my thoughts is when I started outlining. Outlining every single thing I did every day was with the book on my mind. I
Mhm.
tried thinking of every single thing I had gone through, I had done, and I wrote it down. There was no order to it at first. Every time I thought of something that happened, something that could pertain to the addiction, the recovery, any phrase, any thought, any saying, any quote, any word I wanted to define. Every single time I heard somebody say something, it would then trigger a thought or something that happened, and I wrote everything down. But the outline is what saved the book. I think I outlined for 16 to 17 months.
Mm,
And it turned
wow.
a two page outline into a 2 page per chapter outline for 25 chapters. Um, and then I finally got over the hump of realizing I was enough and I was worthy enough to write the book. They say writers get writer's block. That's when they
Mhm,
can't think about what to write. But I
mhm,
think with an author coming out of addiction, it is a lack of worth block. You don't feel worthy enough to be able to move forward and just write. And I ended up completing the book in exactly 25 days.
wow. Okay. So you did say earlier that writing the book was also very important in your recovery, right? Tell us more about that and what made you say that.
It's just like when people hit rock bottom or they're looking for a reason, I have people all the time,
Mhm,
what changed? What happened? And it may have been something big that happened in that moment, but that wasn't the real reason as to the real change, in your life. Um, the writing was the healing part, is
mhm,
when you put everything out there and then you start talking about a recovery, you're building the layers of recovery inside of yourself. It comes two ways. You can either talk about something or you can do it. When
mhm,
that finally happened, I could tell everybody all day long about how to get sober. But was I doing it myself? No. I might know the best way of doing something, but that doesn't mean I'm actually going to do it. Um, so finally having and the wherewithal to just get it on the paper and finding my voice enabled me to talk like I was having a conversation with somebody or
mhm,
with the audience. It was almost like a therapist. The
mhm,
writing was in the therapy, and it was just a long-winded. They didn't have to ask me any questions. I just let it all go for 8 hours a day for 25 days straight. And
mhm,
that's pouring it out made me realize finally that I was healed, or at
mhm,
least healed enough. Not only anyone's ever completely healed, there's
mhm,
always something going on. There's always a new challenge in life, but healed enough to overcome the problems that you had. And now you have enough soul in the goodness and light that you can now start helping others. And I think that's where the rest of the healing comes from, is helping other people to heal as well.
mhm. Okay, so having gone through that, we know that writing a book is not easy at all, right? So tell us about the fun part in writing your book and also the challenges that you encountered while you were writing your book.
The challenge is to link one thought to another.
Mhm,
So I had a 2 page outline for every chapter, and I would just write down like one, two, three. And that's how I was gonna begin the chapter. A phrase, a quote, a saying, or something that happened, and that linked to other thoughts, and then it just kind of flowed. There was no rhyme or reason. Of course, I wanted it to flow and to have a cohesion. But I think finding your voice and being as
mhm,
close to who you are and your personality as you possibly can enables you to write with joy, with sorrow, with trauma. When I was writing about my nephews, I was crying while I was
mhm,
writing. But on the contrary, when I found something that I thought was innovative or pretty clever or funny. I'm laughing while I'm writing.
Mhm.
So it's you're enjoying it, you're laughing, which is healing in and of itself. You're pouring it all out there. And just being able to be yourself and to highlight what happened to you in a positive way that you can now laugh about
Mhm.
creates the growth and opens the door for other people to be able and to do the an exact same thing.
Okay. So earlier you mentioned about coming across lack of worth block, right? As comparing it to writer's block. Did you often have that, or how was it? How did you overcome that?
They say that you cannot overcome actions with thoughts, but you can
Mhm.
overcome thoughts with action. Just start. Just begin. Whether it's I want to run a 5K, go run. Go run for 10 feet, go run for 20 feet, go do whatever you can because you've got to start somewhere. The block, I just could never start writing. I wanted
Mhm.
to distract myself, which is what people do on an everyday basis. I don't want to do this thing for work. I'm going to play on my phone. I'm going to go for a walk because I don't want to do this. Everyone wants to distract themselves from what is important. And
Mhm.
for me, little did I know how important it was for me just to write it, just to get it down on paper, how much would just pour out of me. Um, Realizing every day that I was finding a little more self worth. I was finding a little more value in myself and in my conversations with other people around me that I was made to write this book. You know, I
Mhm.
was told when I was younger, not having a voice, having a speech impediment, getting put down all the time made me better with my words, even if they couldn't be said, if that makes any
Mhm.
sense at all. It's having the thoughts begin to formulate. When I was able to put them onto paper and just start writing, I couldn't stop. You know, it was probably 7 to 8 hours a day, starting at probably 4 a.m., maybe 9 or even 10 hours a day. The goal was to write a chapter a day for 25 days, 25 chapters. I did fall behind early on. And then as it progressed, I was writing a chapter to a chapter and a half a day. And just once you start writing, the value becomes almost second nature. You're like, I'm doing
Mhm.
this, I'm writing this. It's not perfect. Don't go back and look at anything you've written. You've got to write the entire thing and then let it sit for a few weeks or a month and then go back. But once you start writing, the value just begins and to build up. And then it makes the rest uh, in a heck of a lot easier.
Mhm. So, Justin, tell us about the experience of looking back at everything that happened in your life, even the parts that are, painful or difficult, and then having to put that on paper. So, you did mention that writing is very therapeutic for you, but how was it?
The idea of writing is a purge. It is a purge of everything you've done, everything you've said, all the things that people might not know about. I
Mhm.
can nobody can hold something over my head because I've literally told the entire world or whoever gets the book in their hands all of the obscene things that I've done and then I'm not proud of. And
Mhm.
but I'm proud of who I am because of that, because of where I have come to and the willingness to open up about it. Um, just being able to get it out of yourself, it's freeing. It's when we purge ourselves of things that are not healthy for us or what's weighing us down, that also inhibits us from being who we are. You are holding on to those negative aspects that are changing who you are as a person because you're still hiding something. when you have nothing to hide, you're not hiding behind a screen. There's no hologram, trying to display who you are to other people. When you eliminate all of that, then you can be genuinely who you are every day and not have to worry about
Okay, so your book has been out for a few months now, and people have started reading it. Tell us about the feedback that you've been getting about your book. Tell us about one or two feedback or reviews that you've had that had the most impact on you.
it. Absolutely. My And a second grade teacher was one of the first people that reached out to me. I have not seen her in north of 20 years. And when she read it, she was like, I was laughing, I was crying. It absolutely changed my life. And just hearing that, one of my nephews as well, he said, this will reach people. It might not happen overnight. It's going to take time for it to get into the right hands and to help the right people. And hearing that gave me the encouragement to just do whatever I can to get it into people's hands. And it's not
Mhm,
in a monetary amount. If you want to give me
mhm,
$100 for it or $1, it's about changing people's lives. And hearing that from one person was enough. Reaching one person. If I have to spend as much money as I have to reach one person, and the monetary figure doesn't matter. It's just the idea that I can help one person. But then if they can help one more person, I mean, it is in a ripple effect. And if I can continue to do that to 100 people, 1,000 people, it doesn't matter how many people it is, but the more, the better. And hearing that I could change a person's life gave me the full circle moment of the purpose. The purpose is to
mhm.
wake up every day with a smile on my face and to let my positive energy and experience change the lives of others. That's it. And working in a restaurant in hospitality, it gives me a reason every day and the ability to do that every single day. I might only see somebody for an hour and I will never see them for the rest of my life, but I can leave
Mhm,
a long lasting an impression on their lives. And that's what I can do with the book. And that's something that can live on and for years to come and something that they can and that they can pick up again and read. So just changing people's lives and you know being told that they enjoyed a book or that they were
mhm.
changed by it or they were and encouraged by it or they cried. That was the visceral emotions that I tried to put in it and that I tried to get out of other people. So
Must have felt amazing knowing that you have touched someone's life through your book. And that's
abs-
your purpose all along at the very beginning of writing this book, right? So tell
abs-
us a message or tell us something that you can share or perhaps um, advice perhaps you can give to someone who is just writing his or her first book.
uh write as much as you can. There is no rhyme or reason. Never stop thinking about the goal and about the book, about what you want to write. You can be watching the news, you can be watching a movie. I got a ton of quotes out of movies because at that moment, that quote touched the exact part. And I was, oh, that needs to go into chapter 18 because that's going to go perfect with this to help people to resonate in full circle with things that they can relate to, like a movie or a quote or a person. Write as much as you possibly can. Have it on your mind nonstop, and just continue writing. Once you feel like you have enough to write, just start writing the book itself. Try to get as much organization as you possibly can. I think that is an essential for writing the best first draft. The
Mhm,
best first draft comes from the level of the preparation that you're able to do before you start writing. But don't let that get in the way of the writing because
mhm,
you can always add to it later.
mhm. Okay, so Now that your book is out, it's already out. You've done the first step, which is writing the book, and now it's already out for people to read. Tell us about your goals for your book this time, professional goals for your book.
The professional goals, it's not, I think if you are doing things for the right reason, things will come.
Mhm.
So, working in a restaurant for a really long time, I don't look at the bottom line at the tip line to see what somebody left. I am giving them all of myself. I am making their experience the best it can possibly be.
Mhm.
That will come. So I think the book sales, the accolades, the book fairs, the New York Times bestseller, whatever is meant to be is going to happen. The
Mhm.
professional goals, that would be amazing, to win an award. But the award for me is just to help other people, to help other people to wake up in the morning, to be positive, to be upbeat, to be happy, and to touch somebody else because they know that it could always be worse. They know that they woke up today and it wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been. People ask me why I'm so happy all the time. I was because I know there's not a day ahead of me that's any worse than a day that's already happened. So I wake up with the same attitude, with a boundless amount of positive energy to help other people.
So, Justin, your book has the potential to really inspire a lot of people. What is the biggest takeaway that you would like the readers to have from your book?
Uh, and that brighter days are in ahead. There is nothing that can stop you from deciding that you're going to have an amazing day. Whatever
Mhm.
happened 1 minute ago, you cannot change. You have zero power over that. You only have power over how you react to any situation. Um, when I lost and my father, I wasn't able and to be there. And I was reading a book. It was called The Power of Now. And that's exactly what it said. You cannot change. You only have the power of your reaction to what's happening. When I read that, 24 hours later, everything changed. I realized that I have the power to react to how whatever I can. And with that, you've got to find the value in yourself. You cannot get it from somebody else. You can't do something for other people. You can't do it because to spite people. Everything will happen the way it needs to happen as long as you are pursuing the best version of yourself. And that value is created by achieving goals that you set for yourself. With you then have that value, you realize and feel the value, maybe the very value that others saw in you all along. So you are enough. There's nothing that you can't do, and but the only way it's going to happen is if you see it in yourself first.
Mhm. So, very powerful words. So, tell us how we can get in touch with you, Justin, if people would like to give you feedback about your book or just, you know, would like to um, have you for coaching, one-on-one talks, and all those.
Absolutely. So I am creating now. So you'll see everything here at the end. There will be in a Facebook page, Instagram. So you can reach out to me at any time. You can find the book on the Archway website. You can find it on Amazon. If you reach out to me via any avenue, I will happily personally sign and mail you and a copy as well.
Mhm. Okay, please invite them to get a copy of your book.
Yes, please. The book looks just like this. You can find it pretty much everywhere on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Archway, and like I said, I will happily personally sign and send you a copy, no matter where you live.
That's great. So this has been such a meaningful and empowering talk with you, Justin. Your story has undoubtedly left a lasting impression on all of us. So to everyone watching and listening, be sure to grab a copy of Hiding in Plain Sight, Unshackling My Past, Breaking Free from Obesity, Addiction, and Toxic Love by I Am Enough. to read more about Justin's remarkable journey. So it's available in softcover, hardcover, and ebook formats from Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Archway Publishing's online bookstore, and other resellers. A heartfelt thank you to Justin Perry for sharing his inspiring story with all of us, and thank you to everyone for being part of this conversation. We hope that Justin's words encourage you to take that next step in your own journey. So until next time, see you on another episode of the Author Roundup.